Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? We got a matchup against, yet again, another mirror matchup, Zoro versus Zoro. And yeah, this was round 5. I have been undefeated at this point, and we go into Top Cut after this. My opponent in Top Cut did respectfully ask to not be recorded, so I don't have the recordings of that match, but I always respect when someone asks. I would, I always ask, I'm like, hey, I can blur out. I don't use any of the audio or anything, but, if they say no, I'm obviously always going to respect their wishes. And I think that no matter what, though, it was still phenomenal matches. What a great experience this was. Taking home the VV on this tournament was, for me, very special and very important because it was, I guess, arguably like the biggest win I've had yet. So now my future is to try, my future goals and aspirations are to try and get a treasure cup or a regional top placement, and that would be really huge for me. And that's where we're shooting for now. We're shooting for the stars. But we pick up Zoro by playing Nami first, and because we did win the dice roll going first here. Gonna pass it over though, and he rests 1, picks up the buggy. And it looks like he's just going to pick up Radical Beam there. Oh, no, I didn't even see the guard point. Excuse me. So picks up guard point. And interesting call. I think guard point is super, super good. But it's normally only good before you get to 2 life. So that makes me feel like he's probably going to defend his life pretty aggressively if that's the case. But I do choose to go 1 Dawn on Zoro. And 2 Dawn on Zoro. Excuse me. I'll swing 7, and then I will just play the Gordon. Now, I've learned through playing this deck more and more that playing the Gordon is just not that great early, especially in this matchup, simply because, Zoro can have Vista or Zoro could have 5-drop Marco. And, I know that I don't have to worry too much about Vistas now with the OP03 meta, and Cole, the Zoro that we're playing against right now, has pretty much like a decked out OP03 list at this point, and I only had 2 of the 5-drop Marcos because that's all I could pick up for the tournament. But I do choose to swing 5 here, and I know that just lowering down the Marshall D Teach actually ended up being a winning play for me, having that Gordon down early. But 9 times out of 10, I feel like it was a pretty weird situation to be in, but it worked out. We can't really complain about that. Get rid of the Teach and play down that Marco. That Marco is so sticky and it's so good on this board. And he's just gonna play another buggy though, which is pretty huge. Sometimes going second in this matchup actually isn't as bad as it feels now that you have some of these like odd numbered cards that work really well with how you want to make your turns and do some of those plays. But we'll have Curly to Dawn go down first, searching for something. We end up finding a chopper blocker, and yet again, choppers, it can come in use, but it's one of those that I don't feel super confident having the chopper, simply because 5-drop Marco, 9-drop Newgate, potentially him having Fire Fist or Jet Pistol, stuff like that just kind of simply removes those blockers that otherwise in OP02 were actually quite useful. I know Vista could get rid of it in OP02, but it was like, okay, yeah, I don't feel as threatened with my opponent having a Vista on the board versus having a 5-drop Marco. And we will use the Nami, pick up a Jet Pistol here. We still have 2 Dawn remaining, and it looks like I'm just going to slap 1 underneath Zoro. I'll go ahead and swing 6. He does counter out for 2. I'll swing 7, and I'll rest the final 1 and just play that chopper. This is basically forcing my opponent to have to play a 5-drop if he has it in order to get rid of the chopper and then start swinging for the Marco. But I like to think that I could just easily, easily block out of, the first attack, get a little bit of value out of the card, because I knew it wasn't going to be super useful in this matchup. But, my opponent's, I think, he's at 8 Dawn now, and he's got a pretty menacing board. I mean, obviously we're not looking too shabby ourselves, but you know, my concern right now would be 5-drop Marco. Just developing his board a little bit more, you know, pulling resources out of my hand to get rid of my own Marco. And he will go 6 here. And I think that I think I make like a borderline slight misplay. I guess it was just kind of a, you know, ballsy play right here. But I do counter out instead of just blocking with the chopper. I don't know. I'm not the hugest fan of it. I think that it would have been better to just block. Simply because we did have enough counters in hand, as you'll see here in a second, to go through with this. But I do counter out yet again. He's swinging 6 with Buggy at the Marco, and he's swinging 6 again. I will choose to block that, feigning that I don't have any more counters, and he will play Rush Zoro, which I forgot and really wasn't anticipating, so I have overcommitted pretty hard to save this Marco, and I was totally fine with getting rid of the Jet Pistol. Getting rid of Jet Pistol felt, you know, like natural to me. I was like, oh, okay, I can just do that. That's no problem. But yeah, I don't know. We'll just go 3 at the Buggy here. I know my opponent has like 4 or 5 in hand. I've only got like 3 or 4, but I'll go 3 at his Buggy yet again, and he's just gonna let that go. And he knows I'm at 9 Dawn, so I'm actually slightly surprised that he didn't counter out to save one of them. Either that tells me that he's very much so trying to protect this Marco, but I know that he has the guard point in hand. And he will choose to bring back the Marco using the guard point. And I'm just going to play 9-drop. I'm going to bring leader up to 7. I'll probably swing 7 at the Zoro. Yes, Zoro character. Because I know that it would be pretty easy for him to just 2k counter out or trash another event card and save the Marco. So I kind of want to get rid of the, you know, one character that would be inconvenient for him to save. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. Now our board is looking super nice. Maybe defending the Marco wasn't such a bad idea because we have Newgate, still 3 life available. And I believe he goes 6 at the Marco here. I do choose to just let it go. I'm not sure if that's because of a lack of counter or because of a lack of event cards. I'm assuming it's a lack of counter, but I could be wrong. And he goes 7 here, and then plays Marco, gets rid of my Nami, and then he still has 4 Dawn remaining. He's going to play Izo, probably search out maybe like a 4-drop blocker, or potentially, yeah, which he does. Finds the 4-drop blocker. But he can't play it just yet with 3 Dawn remaining, but he does have plenty of event cards to save up. So what was it? I believe it was Radical Beam and Guard Point in hand, and plays the Gordon, which is going to be pretty crucial in taking care of my Newgate this following turn. Arguably, this is a weird turn because I could go for life, like I could try and get some life out of him, but I also could just go pretty heavy for value. So I'll go 10 here, and I think that this was an interesting play on my part. I guess it really depends on exactly what I had in hand. I know I wasn't, I had 4 cards in hand, so I didn't have too many options. But I do go 7 at the life, and 7 at the Marco again, and he chooses to trash the guard point, or use the guard point as a counter and keep the Marco alive. But having the second Newgate down isn't bad. I just think that if I had other options, I probably would have preferred to swing with Curly to Dawn, swing with leader, try and put some other stuff on the board. But I guess that and use Newgate's ability to KO the Gordon, because this is exactly why. Gordon comes down to the bottom of the deck, brings down Newgate to 7. It makes it super easy, within range of the Marcos, and he can, extremely easily just swing 7, and I'm probably just going to let it go. But we do counter out for a Vista. He swings 7 again. I just didn't want him to go for life here because I know that I'm still in a decent spot. I have him down to a very small amount of cards in hand. So with the lack of resources, I feel with what I have in hand as well, since I'm, you know, not looking the greatest either, I think that I have the better board at the moment. So I can try and, you know, this next turn, maybe take 1 life here and then go into a more aggressive, like, board clear, and then from that position win, knowing that I have Radical Beam and he wouldn't be able to kill my Newgate. So he goes 9 at life. I am going to take that. And I believe, if I remember correctly, during this matchup, he was like, I don't know why I swung 9. I feel like you would have just taken that either way. I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, but then you would have just had a few extra Dawn left over, so it's not really like it was relevant. But yeah, so we pick up a second Radical Beam there. I do have the Rush Zoro. Just going to play 1 Dawn underneath the leader. Definitely going to be using that Newgate ability to KO the Ezo. I don't think we had any lowering cards in hand, if I remember correctly. I believe it was just like a Radical Beam, 2 Radical Beams, and like a counter of some sort. But I will go 6 at the Marco here. This is either going to force a... because I know that he has 2 Dawn active. It's going to force an event, or, you know, he's going to let the card go and just stay dead. And it's... I think it... Oh, no. He chooses to bring it back. Yep. So he chooses to bring it back. And now I have to decide what the numbers are. Swinging with lead. Should I be swinging for 8? Forcing out some stuff, and I got him to trash a Radical Beam though, so I'm happy about that. We'll just go ahead and swing 6 at Marco again. I'm just trying to extract as much value out of his hand as possible. If he does have an event card in hand, it's his last card, so then I basically know for sure what I'm working with and what I'm working against, you know, because he won't have any information that I'm unaware of after that. And now waiting, you know, stalling to use the 3-drop Zoro. So he did use that. That was his last card. And we'll probably just go ahead and rest 3. Yep, play Zoro, swing 6. Gonna have to let it go this time. And now we can use Newgate ability. But God, it would have been so sick if we had like a Gordon or a Otama in hand right now to be able to KO the Marco on top of that. But he does let the Marco go with the Ezo in protecting the 5-drop Marco. Good lord. Yeah, but now he is on the ropes. He might be up in life, but with 1 card in hand and the Marco, he's going to have to try and do some shenanigans to get rid of the Newgate. And I just don't see it with the cards we have in hand. You know, 2 Radical Beams, save 2 Open Dawn as well to protect it. And that should be, you know, very easy for us to KO Marco and then move on to life afterwards. It's, you know, I guess I play Zoro a little differently than some do. At least with this build that I had during this pre-release, I knew I didn't have 4-drop Marco, you know, in there. So I kind of wanted to make sure that, you know, I could do the most possible with this deck. And I think that was, you know, against my mirror matchup, playing a little more conservatively and, you know, defensively. But he chooses to go 14 here at Newgate, and we are just going to rest those 2, play the 2 Radical Beams, save the Newgate. We didn't lose anything that turn, and I forgot that he still had 1 Dawn open, so I was like, oh shoot. You know, because I was about to draw a card and everything. But he picks up Whitebeard Pirates, or 2 Dawn open, excuse me, because he used 1 on leader and 7 on Marco to go to 14. And yeah, now he's just going to have to choose what he picks up here. You know, Ezo's definitely going to be the choice, just so he can try and maybe search out like 4-drop blocker in the following turn. But yeah, he passes it over. We do pick up a card. And I don't think that, if I remember correctly, I don't think this card ended up being extremely useful, because I was really looking for like a blocker, or potentially, yeah, I that's what it was. I find Curly, and I was looking for like Nami or potentially like a blocker, but because I do feel like, oh shoot, if he picks up one of those Rush Zoros, I could be in an interesting spot. But yeah, now we have a Makino, and he's very aware of that. And so we'll just go 6 here at the Marco, or excuse me, 7, because I know that he has Ezo in hand. So I wanted to go 1k higher just so I could confirm that, that card dies for sure. And we're obviously going to use Newgate ability to get rid of Buggy. I don't want him to have an extra swing next turn. You know, we are in a precarious situation having 2 life, but I think that this was a pretty ballsy play. I actually decided to swing multiple times at his life, giving him potential outs. I think that this was a huge misplay on my part. I think that I could have maybe not swung once or twice there, and I still would have had a very comfortable game. But we did kind of get lucky and bite the bullet here, or not bite the bullet. We got lucky, and, you know, he didn't draw any of the necessary rush cards. I knew that he had already played, I believe, 2 Zoros, so I didn't expect him to have too many more in the list. But yeah, at this point, I feel pretty comfortable in the win. I just think that that last part, swinging for multiple life and potentially giving him, you know, winning cards. Oh, you see, he actually bottom decked the Zoro that he needed right there. And that's tough. That's why in the OP03 list, I personally haven't been running the 3-cost Zoro. I've been running like Atmos instead, or something for, you know, a nice like 7k swing on board. But he chooses to play Marco, gets rid of Curly to Dawn, plays the 4-drop blocker, and now, you know, it's confirmed. I got the win. He doesn't have any active Dawn, so there's not really much to be done here. And yeah, I swing 10. He's going to have to block with Marco. And then I don't know why I was thinking with 3 cards in hand that I needed to swing 5. Like, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful here, but then I swung 15. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why. I'm so used to, you know, needing to swing pretty carefully, but we had a pretty solid board right there. But all around, this was such an amazing tournament. It was a great experience, and yeah, I feel like going into this weekend, I'm really excited. I'm hoping I can get my cards to play yellow by the time Saturday comes. But if I can't, then I'm most likely going to be playing Zoro again this weekend with a full OP03 setup. But I'm going to show you guys the packs that we won at the very end of the tournament. And other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.